What's going on, guys? Chris here with Just Start. Welcome back to the channel. We haven't done really anything in the past almost year, and that's really what I want to get into, is because 2025 was a year of finishing something and starting something even bigger. So I kind of want to go over what it was like to actually finish a master's, and then the decision-making process I went to pursue a doctorate degree, and what I've experienced so far. I meant to get this video out in December when I finished the semester, but holidays take over. But I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season and are starting 2026. Let's get into this video. Well, first, let's think about why I got into doing the doctorate program. When I finished my MBA, I found that I had a pretty strong foundational understanding with business and strategy, but I really wanted to push it further. And I had also noticed that while my career is decently and it is moving forward, it was very engineering focused. It wasn't looking at the bigger why my company was doing what it was doing. And that's what really has been interesting me the most, is why companies make the decisions they do. Why do they take on these different avenues, especially if they're development type things? Because obviously if you develop it, it might not work out and it could be a risk. How do they mitigate that, or how do they think about those risks? Those are the type of things that really fascinated me, not so much the end use or the development in the engineering space, more of how those ideas even came about. And so when I started to play around with it, I noticed that I just wasn't getting into the direction I wanted to be within the company. So I go, okay, what can I do to just kind of set myself apart? And I looked at certificates. If that's the route you want to go, there's a lot of them from really great places like Harvard, MIT. They actually have a lot of very strong personal development certificates you can go through and get. But I kind of saw that as I was finishing my MBA, that I wanted to continue down that route. I found that education was actually sort of a catalyst to me wanting to do and understand more. The more schooling I went through, the more I realized I didn't know what I didn't know. And to go the doctoral program, I found that it really was that next level, that top tier of the end goal for education. Like, I've already collected all the pieces of paper, might as well get the one at the top. So when I was researching schools to go to, there's a lot of doctoral business administration programs out there, DBA programs. They're not all created equal. You kind of have to balance what you want to get out of it, and if you want to have it hold some form of reputation and weight behind it. Not downing any of the ones that aren't fully recognized. They do have value to them, but for what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve, I wanted something that was going to be hard, something that was accredited all the way through, and then something that was sort of unique in a sense. And that's where I went to Oklahoma State University's Spears Executive PhD program. I'm obviously not paid by them or anything like that. It's just all of the research I did. That's a school that really helped round out everything I wanted. So one of the first things you might notice when you're doing research for programs like this is time commitment. The DBA program with Spears at OSU is like 3 years. That's what they say you can do it in. Obviously, if your dissertation takes longer, it can take longer. Traditional PhD programs are 5 to 7 years. And what I liked about OSU's is it's actually the PhD program, just condensed and still handed to you, or still made you work through it with their same instructors that do the PhD, traditional PhD programs, same curriculum, everything. And to find programs that do that is tricky. My MBA was the same thing. My Kelley Direct at Indiana University, that MBA program is the same one as the in-residence one. So it's not like you're getting some watered down version. And if you're looking for stuff like that, that's really what you want to understand is, are you getting a watered down version of their more traditional program, or are you getting the same thing, just a condensed version? And that's what you would need to look for. So once I found all that, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this, the next piece of it was obviously the funding. That school at the time when I started was $129,000 for the entirety of the program. Luckily, I do have some tuition reimbursement and assistance through my company. So that helped mitigate, God, I think about 55%, somewhere around that. So you either have to come out of pocket with the rest or do some form of student loan. Currently, I'm doing some form of student loan to help offset that difference. Now, does that mean that you have to? No, you can definitely do any other type of loans, or if you have the cash, by all means, that's really the best way to do it so you don't have any student loans to deal with. But know that it is around $6,000, $6,400 a credit. You're taking 2 to 3 classes a semester, so do the math. You'll see that it's going to add up every semester. On top of the cost of just the tuition alone, you go out there every month. It's 3 times a semester, I believe. And it's a Friday, Saturday type thing. When you have 3 classes, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday type thing. So you also have to plan in, not only are you out there those days, you have a day of travel before and a day of travel after. Like for me, I fly out the day before early, and then I have the 2 classes and I fly out the day after. Now, there's some days you could, fly differently, but you have the flights you got to deal with. I have a rental car, and then on top of that, your hotel and your lodging, and then obviously your food. So on top of your tuition costs, you really need to think about the logistical costs, like what's it going to be to actually fly out there and get your hotels and all that stuff. Because I was flying so much, I ended up getting the American Airlines like executive program card. So it's rewards. I have bonus miles. I can use Admirals Club when I got long layovers. I have priority boarding and all that fun stuff. So I found, I wasn't going to use it, but I found that it was useful in my use case. So think about stuff like that, where there's promotional cards that can help you. Because what I'm doing is I put on the card, because I have to book out so far in advance. I'll book it all out and then pay it off throughout the year. That's just sort of my approach. Clearly that all adds up, and that's the monetary side of it. There's obviously a little nuances here and there, but the other aspect you need to think of is just time. My first semester, I'm going to tell you what it was like. I personally didn't find it as demanding as I had initially thought. Now I've heard and I believe that not all semesters are going to be this way, and there's going to be ones that are going to kick my butt. And I fully accept that, and that's what I want. But your time commitment is, if you're not used to writing papers and it's been a very long time since you have been, it's going to take you longer. And those that have life commitments, I had a pretty set schedule of how I did things, so I was able to really knock stuff out early. There's 2 other guys in my DBA program, and one's traveling from here out back to Africa and then back out again. Another one runs his own or has his own insurance company business, and then also has a food truck business. So, and then has his child and family. So there's a lot of commitments that he has and had to work through. So when you're doing this, you really, if you have a partner, you have to talk to them about how much time you really are going to spend doing these courses. Because if you don't do them every day, like I put hours to it every single day, around 2 hours every day. So that way I could have the weekends off. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you have big papers and projects or what have you, and they're going to bleed into your weekend. But for the most part, if I do Monday through Friday, 2 hours a day reading, which there was a ton of, papers on average 4 to 6 pages, nothing crazy. I know that the executive PhDs, they had a little bit longer papers to write than what the DBA program did, but it's still rather demanding. So you really needed to understand your time management. And again, if you haven't been in school for a long time, I was lucky I rolled from my MBA straight into this. So I already had that in the bag of how to deal with my time. So if you're new to that, definitely set up some form of schedule for you, because you will struggle and you'll fall behind. And with this amount of reading and then research you have to do, it's going to snowball on you and become a problem. So that's the time commitment side and the monetary side. What about just the experience overall? You know, I ended up having surgery the second and third residencies that I had to go to. And the director, Stephanie Royce, Dr. Stephanie Royce, fantastic. Her and Crystal really came to my side and were like, okay, we're going to set up a virtual thing so that way you can be part of the class and still sit in. Obviously, you won't have that one-on-one interaction, but they made it available to you. So am I saying that that's always going to happen? I don't know. My particular case, something emergency came up and I had to deal with it. They were very accommodating. Now, once you're actually in class and you're dealing with it, there's all of 10 people in the executive PhD in my DBA program. And that's it. And they're very high performing people that have some decent industry knowledge and experience. They're have been doing something for 10, 15 plus years, and they're at a senior VP type level. Like they're very good. At least my DBA is very good, and they're very passionate about learning and improving themselves. And that's one thing that I really connected with, is being around people that know that they don't know everything and want to learn as much as possible and are humble in that sense, even though they're very already successful. And I don't see myself in that realm. I look at them and going, okay, these guys are doing or in a place where I'd like to get to. So that type of camaraderie and push from the peers is one of the things that I realized when I was there. I'm like, yeah, this is the right place for me. I'm around like-minded individuals, those that I look at and go, man, you're head and shoulders above where I'm at, which may or may not be true. It's just the way I see it. And it lights a fire into you. The other thing is like, just being in that, if you've been through enough school, you're getting to this doctorate, you've been an undergrad, you've been in a master's program, you see that you're in the numbers, right? And while there's can be tailored type classes or some form of intimacy, and by that I mean like just a good interaction between professor and yourself, majority it's broad and overarching, an umbrella, like it appeals to everyone and it just kind of covers everyone. Whereas this program, you feel special, and that's what you really need to look for, something that just makes it so you feel that tier one is what I call it, where you're the top of the top, and it feels that way. You have adult conversations. You have real adult expectations when you go through a bachelor's and master's. You know, it's just a waterfall of coursework and stuff like that, where it's just to get things done. Whereas the doctoral program, it's more tailored to what type of industries, and they're specific, and they give very strong personal feedback, something that really doesn't happen in the lower levels. So that was another thing I looked at with the program. It's just that connectivity, the fact that there's only 10 of us, and we have those instructors face to face 3 times a semester. So if you do the math to that, we're traveling every month except for 2. This upcoming 2026 is going to be a grind. So it's a lot, but it's going to be amazing. Sort of the last bit of this video, as I've rambled on about my experience and the cost of everything, and just logistic wise of what it's like to deal with. I think the end of this video, I really want to go over the why. If your why isn't strong enough, why you want to do this program, why you want to achieve this degree, you're going to find that the cost monetarily and time-wise isn't worth it, right? If you just want to do it because, oh, it'd be fun to be called a doctor or whatever, you're probably not going to want to keep doing it because it's very expensive and it sucks a lot of your time. Like, why do you want to struggle? So you need to look internally about what it is that is driving you. And for me, it's personal and professional. I want this level of schooling. I find again that it's this desire to learn what I don't know and to understand how to find those answers to the things I don't know. And the higher up I've gone in schooling, the more tools and skills I've developed on how to answer those questions for myself and then for a company. And for the professional side, it's helped me move into a different realm, in a different role, where I get to finally see the overarching picture of why my company does what it does in program management and project execution. I get to really get my hands dirty in all of those nitty-gritty details of why and how and what can be done to improve, because my overarching goal is to develop a firm that's consulting, but mainly for the strategy for medium to small companies to get into the defense and aerospace industry. Like, how do we position them to get into that realm and make them successful? And so to build this, level of schooling to go with the knowledge that I already have and the work experience that I have, believe is what's going to help set me apart and give me more of the credibility that I'm searching for, to be a new player in that game, because there's tons of companies out there that sort of do that, but I want to be more bespoke and more boutique, if you will, in the type of services that I can provide. So this schooling, again, my why is personal, because it's something that, I personally just really, really want. But two, I only see upside. While it costs a lot now, believe the rate of return will be, it'll be high. It'll be exponential. Like, I can't see any downside to investing in yourself, right? So if you're looking at doing a program like this, that is this involved, understand what your why is. That's going to be one of your biggest driving factors. Talk to those that are closest to you and let them know what the expectations are, because your support system, like for me, it's my wife, are going to be your biggest help when it comes to those hard times while dealing with work, dealing with school, dealing with life in general. Having someone around you to kind of help keep you, focused on what it is you're trying to achieve is going to help you get through the toughest parts of these courses. And I think this 2026 is going to be one of the toughest parts of this course. So hope you enjoy this video. It's long-winded. It's kind of just me doing almost like a diary to sort of share. I said I was going to do it, and this is the first time I've been able to do it. But stay tuned for more videos. If you have questions or anything about, schooling, or my thoughts on formal education versus skill-based versus certificates, I'd love to talk about them, because I've done a ton of research on which ones I might consider, and then the things that I've obviously done. So with that, have a fantastic start to 2026, and we'll see you on the next video.